Welcome back, friends. If you're enjoying our content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Now, let's dive into today's main story. In the dense, verdant tapestry of the Pacific jungle, where the air hung thick with humidity and the rustle of unseen creatures, a solitary figure moved with the quiet grace of a shadow. Lieutenant Hiroshi Nakamura, clad in the mottled greens and browns of his uniform, blended seamlessly into the vibrant, chaotic symphony of nature. The jungle was alive, a living entity that breathed and pulsed around him, every leaf and vine whispering secrets in the language of the wind. Hiroshi's senses were honed, attuned to the subtleties of his surroundings, his every step calculated to avoid the treacherous roots and the slick, moss-covered stones that could betray him. The path he followed was one not marked on any map, a trail of instinct and necessity that weaved through the heart of the island, where the war seemed a distant, almost forgotten specter. Yet, the echoes of conflict were never far, artillery fire like distant thunder, the sky occasionally rent by the ghostly wail of planes overhead. The air was a tapestry of scents, the sweet decay of the forest floor mingling with the sharp tang of salt from the nearby sea. Hiroshi paused, crouching low as he surveyed the terrain ahead, his senses alert for any sign of movement. The jungle was dense here, a labyrinth of foliage and shadow, and he knew well the dangers that lurked within. Yet, it was also a place of strange beauty, the sunlight filtering through the canopy above in golden shafts that danced upon the ground. As he moved forward, his thoughts drifted to his comrades, scattered across the island like leaves in the wind. They were a small unit, tasked with reconnaissance and survival in this hostile environment, each day a test of endurance and wits. The jungle was both ally and adversary, offering concealment but also concealing myriad threats. Hiroshi felt a kinship with this land, its wild unpredictability mirroring the turmoil within his own soul. A soldier caught in the relentless tide of history. The sun was beginning its slow descent, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the forest floor. Hiroshi knew he must find a place to camp before darkness enveloped the jungle. As he pressed on, the sound of running water reached his ears, a gentle murmur that promised refreshment and shelter. He followed it, drawn by the promise of respite. The stream was a ribbon of silver amidst the green, its banks fringed with ferns that swayed gently in the breeze. Hiroshi knelt by the water's edge, cupping his hands to drink, the cool liquid a balm against the heat that pressed upon him. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself a rare moment of peace, the burden of command slipping away as the sounds of the jungle enveloped him. But the jungle, ever watchful, had its own plans. A sudden rustle in the undergrowth snapped Hiroshi from his reverie. His hand went instinctively to the rifle slung across his back, eyes scanning the shadows for the source of the disturbance. The forest held its breath, a tense silence stretching between the trees, broken only by the distant call of a bird. Hiroshi remained still, every muscle taut, as a figure emerged from the foliage. It was a young woman, her clothes tattered and her face streaked with dirt. She was not of his nation. Her features marked her as a native of these islands, her eyes wide with fear and determination. In her hands, she clutched a woven basket, its contents hidden beneath a covering of leaves. For a moment, they regarded each other in silence, the language of words unnecessary. Hiroshi could see the fear in her eyes, and something else, a glimmer of defiance, a spirit unbroken by the ravages of war. He slowly lowered his rifle, extending a hand in a gesture of peace. The woman hesitated, the tension in her frame palpable, before she took a cautious step forward. Hiroshi knew that trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered in these times of strife, but he also understood its power to bridge the chasm between strangers. He offered her his canteen, a simple act of kindness in a world gone mad. As she drank, Hiroshi studied her, noting the way her eyes darted to the shadows, ever watchful for danger. He wondered what had brought her to this place, what stories she carried within her heart. The jungle held many secrets, and in this moment, they were bound together by the shared silence, two souls adrift in the chaos of war. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, and Hiroshi knew they must move. Darkness was a cloak that could be both friend and foe, and he had no desire to remain exposed in the open. He gestured to the woman, indicating that they should find shelter for the night, and she nodded, understanding the unspoken language of survival. Together, they melted into the shadows, the jungle closing around them like a protective shroud. Hiroshi led the way, his instincts guiding him to a small clearing where the remnants of an old campfire lay hidden beneath a layer of moss. Here, they would rest, the flickering flames a beacon of warmth in the encroaching night. As the fire crackled to life, casting dancing shadows against the trees, Hiroshi found himself drawn into the woman's story. Her name was Leilani, and she spoke in halting English, her voice a lilting melody that rose and fell like the ocean's tide. She told him of her village, of the soldiers who had come like a storm, sweeping through the land and leaving only destruction in their wake. Hiroshi listened, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. He thought of his own home, far away across the sea, and the family he had left behind. The war had taken much from him, as it had from her, and in this shared loss, they found a bond that transcended the boundaries of language and culture. Night settled over the jungle, the stars a glittering tapestry above, and Hiroshi felt a sense of calm wash over him. The dangers of the day seemed distant now, the fire's warmth a barrier against the chill of isolation. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new trials to face, but for now, in this moment, there was peace. And as the jungle sang its lullaby, a symphony of whispers and rustles, Hiroshi and Leilani drifted into a restless sleep, their dreams entwined with the promise of a new dawn. The jungle awoke with a chorus of chirps and trills, the first light of dawn slipping through the dense canopy like liquid gold. Hiroshi opened his eyes to this symphony, the world around him still wrapped in the soft hues of early morning. Leilani was already awake, her eyes scanning the forest with a quiet vigilance that spoke of her familiarity with its secrets. "Good morning," Hiroshi murmured, stretching his limbs that were still stiff from the night's repose. The jungle floor was unforgiving, a bed of roots and leaves that had molded to his body. Leilani nodded, offering him a small, shy smile. "We should move soon," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as if the forest itself were listening. The soldiers might return. The mention of soldiers brought a chill to the morning air, a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. Hiroshi nodded in agreement, gathering his few belongings with a newfound urgency. The forest was their sanctuary, but it was also a place fraught with unknown dangers. They set off through the undergrowth, each step carefully placed to avoid the dry twigs that might snap and betray their presence. The air was thick with the scent of earth and foliage, and the calls of distant birds echoed through the trees. Hiroshi could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, the forest alive with creatures that watched from the shadows. As they walked, Leilani spoke of her life before the war, of days spent tending rice fields and evenings filled with laughter and song. Her words painted pictures in Hiroshi's mind, scenes of a life so different from the one he now led. Her stories were a balm to the soul, a reminder of the world that existed beyond the conflict that had consumed them both. But as they delved deeper into the jungle, the serenity of the morning began to fray at the edges. The sounds of the forest grew muted, the air heavy with a tension that Hiroshi could feel in his bones. Leilani stopped suddenly, her body tensed, her eyes scanning the undergrowth with a predator's focus. Hiroshi followed her gaze, his heart pounding in his chest. The jungle around them was still, unnaturally so, and he knew that something was wrong. He strained his ears, listening for the telltale signs of danger. And then he heard it, a faint rustling, the sound of footsteps moving stealthily through the foliage. They were not alone. Leilani grabbed his arm, her fingers digging into his skin. "This way," she whispered urgently, pulling him off the narrow path and into the thick underbrush. They moved quickly but quietly, the leaves brushing against their skin like whispered warnings. The rustling grew louder, closer, and Hiroshi's heart raced with the fear of discovery. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins, sharpening his senses, heightening his awareness of every sound, every movement. They wove through the trees, their footsteps silent on the soft earth, until Leilani pulled them to a halt behind a massive tree trunk. They crouched there, hidden from view, their breaths shallow as they waited for the threat to pass. Hiroshi's mind raced, each second stretching into an eternity. He could hear the footsteps now, just beyond their hiding place, and he pressed himself against the tree, willing himself to become invisible. The footsteps paused, and Hiroshi held his breath, the air thick with the scent of sweat and fear. Time seemed to freeze, the world narrowing to the space between heartbeats. And then, after what felt like an eternity, the footsteps resumed, moving away from them, the sound growing fainter until it was swallowed by the jungle. Hiroshi exhaled slowly, relief washing over him like a wave. Leilani met his gaze, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. Without a word, they continued on, moving deeper into the forest, each step taking them further from the danger that had brushed so close. As they walked, the jungle gradually began to reclaim its symphony, the calls of birds and the rustle of leaves weaving a tapestry of sound around them. But the encounter had left its mark, a reminder of the ever-present threat that lingered at the edges of their fragile sanctuary. The sun rose higher in the sky, its warmth filtering through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Hiroshi and Leilani paused by a small stream, the water clear and cool as it flowed over smooth stones. They drank gratefully, the water a welcome respite from the heat of the day. As they rested, Hiroshi took a moment to reflect on the path that had led him here, to this remote corner of the world, far from the familiar shores of his homeland. The war had uprooted him, tearing him from the life he had known, casting him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Yet, in this foreign land, he had found a connection, a shared understanding with Leilani that transcended the boundaries of language and culture. The jungle, with its dangers and its beauty, had become their refuge, a place apart from the chaos of the world outside. It was a place where they could find moments of peace, where they could share stories and dreams, and where they could forge a bond that might help them weather the storms that lay ahead. As the day wore on, they resumed their journey, moving with a newfound sense of purpose. The forest seemed to shift around them, each step revealing new wonders and new challenges. They encountered a troop of monkeys swinging through the trees, their chattering calls echoing through the air. Brightly colored birds flitted from branch to branch, their plumage a riot of color against the green backdrop. But even amidst the beauty, there were reminders of the war that loomed beyond the jungle's embrace. They came across the remains of a camp, abandoned and overgrown, a testament to the soldiers who had passed through, leaving only remnants of their presence behind. The sight was a sobering reminder of the conflict that continued to rage, even in this remote corner of the world. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Hiroshi and Leilani found a small clearing to make camp for the night. The air was cooler now, a gentle breeze whispering through the trees, carrying with it the scent of the ocean that lay somewhere beyond the forest. They sat together by the fire, the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. Leilani sang softly, her voice weaving a melody that spoke of hope and longing, a lullaby for a world that was still waking from the nightmare of war. Hiroshi listened, his heart stirred by the beauty of her song, the promise of a new dawn woven into each note. As the stars emerged, a glittering canopy above, they spoke of their dreams for the future, of a time when the world would be at peace, and they could return to the lives they had left behind. The jungle, with its dangers and its beauty, had become their refuge, a place where they could find moments of peace and solace amidst the chaos. And as the night deepened, they drifted into a restful sleep, their dreams entwined with the promise of a new day. The jungle sang its lullaby, a symphony of whispers and rustles, and the world turned beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, carrying them ever forward into the unknown. As dawn's gentle fingers painted the horizon with hues of amber and pink, Hiroshi awoke to the symphony of the jungle. The air was thick with the scent of dewy leaves and earth, a rich fragrance that spoke of life and renewal. He glanced at Leilani, still wrapped in the tender embrace of slumber, her face serene and untouched by the shadows of their reality. It was a rare moment of tranquility, one that Hiroshi cherished deeply in the volatile world that surrounded them. The day ahead was uncertain, as it always was, but the routine they had carved out in the heart of the jungle offered a semblance of stability. Their first task was to secure their perimeter, a ritual that had become second nature. The jungle, with its dense foliage and hidden dangers, required constant vigilance. Yet, amidst the green labyrinth, they had found a sanctuary, a place where they could momentarily forget the horrors of war. Hiroshi moved through the underbrush with the grace of a predator, alert to every sound and movement. The jungle was alive with the chatter of birds and the rustle of unseen creatures, a living tapestry that both concealed and revealed. His senses, honed by necessity, detected the subtle shift in the air, the faintest hint of something amiss. He paused, muscles tensing, as his eyes scanned the surroundings. There, partially hidden by a tangle of vines, was an unfamiliar object. Hiroshi approached cautiously, his heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. As he drew nearer, he recognized it for what it was, a parachute, draped like a ghostly shroud over the vegetation. The fabric was torn and stained, a relic of some past skirmish or perhaps a desperate escape. The sight filled Hiroshi with unease. The parachute meant that someone else had been here, had walked the same paths they now tread. He searched the ground for signs of recent activity, for footprints or discarded items that might betray the presence of others. But the earth revealed nothing, its secrets buried beneath layers of fallen leaves and creeping vines. Returning to their camp, Hiroshi found Leilani awake, her eyes bright with the light of the morning. He shared his discovery with her, his voice low and measured. Together, they pondered the implications, the possible scenarios that could unfold. The jungle, though vast, was not impenetrable, and the presence of the parachute hinted at stories untold, at lives that had intersected with theirs in ways they could not yet comprehend. Leilani suggested they search the area more thoroughly, a proposal Hiroshi agreed with, though it carried its own risks. The jungle, with its myriad hiding places, was both ally and adversary. They moved cautiously, side by side, their senses attuned to the rhythm of the wilderness. Each step was a dance of survival, a delicate balance between discovery and discretion. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the air grew heavier, laden with the scent of blooming orchids and the distant hum of insects. The canopy above filtered the sunlight into a verdant glow, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Hiroshi found himself drawn into the beauty of the place, the way life thrived in every nook and cranny, an explosion of color and sound that defied the desolation of war. Their search yielded little more than the remnants of the parachute, a few scattered personal effects, a tarnished compass, a waterlogged journal whose pages were fused together, making the words within unfathomable. These artifacts, fragments of a life unknown, stirred a sense of kinship in Hiroshi, a reminder of the shared humanity that transcended the divisions of war. As the sun climbed higher, they paused to rest, settling on a fallen log amidst a grove of ferns. Leilani's gaze lingered on the journal, her fingers tracing the embossed initials on its cover. Whoever they were, she mused softly, they must have had dreams and fears, just like us. Hiroshi nodded, the weight of her words resonating within him. In the quiet of the jungle, amidst the whispering leaves, he felt a connection to the unseen stranger, a thread that linked their destinies across time and space. The war had cast them all adrift, scattered them like seeds on the wind, yet in this moment, under the canopy of the jungle, their paths had crossed. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the forest floor. The air cooled, carrying with it the scent of distant rain. Hiroshi and Leilani resumed their journey, the jungle enveloping them once more in its emerald embrace. Their return to camp was marked by a growing sense of unease, a feeling that lingered like a shadow at the edge of their thoughts. The parachute, the journal, the unknown presence in the jungle, each was a piece of a puzzle whose picture remained elusive. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope, a belief that their story was far from over, that the jungle, with its secrets and its surprises, had more to reveal. As night fell, they sat once more by the fire, the warmth of the flames a comfort against the encroaching darkness. Leilani sang again, her voice a balm that soothed the frayed edges of their nerves. Hiroshi listened, his heart swelling with gratitude for her presence, for the strength she lent him in these trying times. Together, they faced the unknown, their spirits buoyed by the promise of a new day. The jungle, with its mysteries and its magic, was both a challenge and a companion on their journey. And as they drifted into sleep, the stars looked down upon them, guardians of their dreams, witnesses to their perseverance. In the depths of the night, the jungle stirred, alive with its own rhythms and stories. Somewhere, beyond the reach of their firelight, the echoes of past lives whispered through the trees, weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience that spanned the ages. And in that moment, amidst the shadows and the silence, Hiroshi and Leilani found solace, their hearts entwined with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The dawn broke gently over the horizon, its light filtering through the thick canopy, dappling the forest floor in a mosaic of gold and green. Hiroshi awoke to the calls of unfamiliar birds, their songs weaving through the air like threads of an ancient melody. He turned to see Leilani already awake, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the morning. She was gathering their scattered belongings, her movements quiet and deliberate, a testament to the grace she carried within her. The chill of the night had given way to a humid warmth, the air rich with the scent of earth and growing things. Hiroshi breathed deeply, feeling the tight coil of tension in his chest begin to unwind. The jungle, with its towering trees and tangled undergrowth, seemed less daunting in the light of day, its secrets laid bare under the sun's gaze. As they prepared to continue their journey, Hiroshi felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and challenge, but he was not alone. Leilani's presence was a beacon, a reminder of the strength that lay within him, waiting to be summoned. They charted their course through the jungle, guided by the sun's ascent and Leilani's intimate knowledge of the land. She moved with a familiarity that bespoke years of living in harmony with this wild and untamable place. Her steps were sure, her senses attuned to the subtle shifts in the forest's mood. Hiroshi followed her lead, his trust in her growing with each passing hour. The jungle was a living entity, its pulse steady and unyielding. It was a symphony of life, each note a testament to the resilience of nature. As they walked, Hiroshi marveled at the intricate beauty that surrounded them, the delicate ferns unfurling in the undergrowth, the iridescent wings of insects flitting through the air, the steady hum of life that filled the spaces between the trees. Yet, beneath this surface of tranquility lay a tension, a sense of foreboding that lurked at the edges of perception. Hiroshi could feel it, a whisper of unease that tugged at his awareness. The jungle, for all its beauty, was also a place of danger. Predators moved stealthily through the shadows, and hidden threats lay in wait for the unwary. As the sun climbed higher, the heat became oppressive, a heavy blanket that settled over them. Sweat trickled down Hiroshi's back, and his shirt clung to his skin. He could feel the energy sapping from his limbs, the weight of the journey pressing down on him. But Leilani pressed on, her determination a guiding star that kept them moving forward. They paused by a stream, its crystal waters a welcome respite from the heat. Hiroshi knelt by its edge, splashing the cool liquid over his face, feeling the refreshing kiss of the water against his skin. Leilani joined him, her laughter a bright note in the stillness. She cupped her hands and drank deeply, her eyes meeting Hiroshi's with a warmth that banished the shadows from his heart. As they rested, the jungle seemed to shift around them, its rhythms changing with the passage of time. The sun cast long shadows, and the air took on a different quality, a promise of rain in the distance. Hiroshi watched the clouds gather, their dark forms rolling across the sky, and felt a surge of anticipation. They resumed their journey, their pace quickening as the first drops of rain began to fall. The jungle came alive with the scent of wet earth, the patter of raindrops a soothing lullaby that accompanied their steps. Hiroshi reveled in the coolness of the rain, feeling it wash away the fatigue, the doubts, the fears. But as the rain intensified, a new challenge presented itself. The path became treacherous, the mud slick and clinging, and the visibility reduced to mere feet. Hiroshi struggled to keep his footing, the strain of the journey testing his endurance. Leilani, however, seemed unfazed, her movements sure and confident even in the downpour. The rain was relentless, a curtain of water that blurred the world into a tapestry of gray and green. Hiroshi's thoughts turned inward, to memories of home, of simpler times. He thought of his family, the love that bound them together, the dreams they had shared. In the midst of the storm, these memories were a lifeline, a reminder of what he was fighting for. Yet, amidst the rain and the mud, a new sound reached his ears, a rustle, a movement that was not of the jungle. Hiroshi's heart quickened, his senses on high alert. He signaled to Leilani, his voice barely a whisper above the storm. They paused, listening intently, the rain a steady drumbeat in the background. The sound came again, closer this time, the unmistakable crunch of leaves underfoot. Hiroshi's hand went instinctively to the hilt of his knife, his body poised and ready. From the shadows emerged a figure, a man clad in the same weathered uniform as Hiroshi. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow, a reflection of the hardships he had endured. For a moment, time stood still, the rain a veil between them. Recognition dawned slowly, a flicker of memory that ignited into a flame. It was Takashi, a fellow soldier, a brother in arms. Relief washed over Hiroshi, dispelling the tension that had gripped him. He stepped forward, his voice filled with a warmth that belied the storm. "Takashi," he called, his words carrying over the rain. "Is it really you?" Takashi's eyes met his, a spark of recognition kindling in their depths. He nodded, his expression a mix of disbelief and joy. "Hiroshi," he replied, his voice cracking with emotion. I thought you were lost to us." The reunion was bittersweet, a moment of joy amidst the chaos of their journey. They clasped hands, the bond of shared experience stronger than any words could convey. Leilani watched, her presence a calming influence, her understanding of the strength of human connection profound. Together, they sought shelter from the storm, their footsteps guided by the flickering light of hope. The jungle, once a place of uncertainty, now felt like a haven, a sanctuary where they could regroup and plan their next move. As the rain continued to fall, Hiroshi felt a renewed sense of purpose. With Takashi by his side and Leilani's unwavering support, the path ahead seemed less daunting. They were not alone, they were a team, bound by a common goal, driven by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. In the heart of the jungle, amidst the rain and the shadows, Hiroshi found strength in the connections he had forged, in the resilience that lay within him. The journey was far from over, but he faced it with courage, with hope, and with the knowledge that he was not alone. The storm would pass, the skies would clear, and the jungle would reveal its secrets. And in the days to come, Hiroshi, Leilani, and Takashi would continue their journey, their hearts united by the promise of a new dawn. The days unfolded like pages of an ancient scroll, each one marked by the whispers of the jungle and the rhythm of their footsteps. The rain, once a relentless torrent, had softened into a gentle mist that clung to the leaves and vines, painting the air with a serene luminescence. The canopy above them dripped intermittently, like nature's own metronome, guiding their pace as they ventured deeper into the emerald embrace. Hiroshi's mind wandered as they walked, his thoughts a mosaic of memories and dreams. The jungle seemed to breathe with them, its pulse a comforting reminder of the life that thrived in every crevice. Here, amid the tangled roots and fragrant blossoms, he felt a kinship with the earth, a connection that transcended the chaos of war and the confines of his own past. The silence between the three companions was not empty. It was filled with an unspoken understanding, a shared determination that propelled them forward. Takashi moved with a quiet grace, his movements almost imperceptible against the vibrant backdrop. There was a strength in his silence, a steadfastness that Hiroshi admired. He was a man of few words, yet his presence spoke volumes, a testament to the bond that had grown between them. They were brothers now, not by blood but by choice, their destinies intertwined in the tapestry of this vast, untamed world. Leilani walked beside them, her eyes scanning the horizon with the keen awareness of someone who had spent a lifetime attuned to the land. Her presence was a balm, a guiding light in their journey. She was the thread that wove their disparate paths into a single narrative, her spirit as indomitable as the mountains that cradled the jungle. Hiroshi often found himself watching her, drawn to the quiet strength that radiated from her very being. One morning, as the sun began its ascent, painting the sky with hues of amber and rose, they came upon a clearing. The grass was a vibrant green, glistening with dew, and in the center stood an ancient tree, its gnarled branches reaching skyward like a silent sentinel. Hiroshi felt a pull towards it, an inexplicable urge to stand beneath its boughs. As they approached, Takashi paused, his gaze fixed on the ground. "Look," he murmured, pointing to a series of faint tracks that crisscrossed the earth. They were not animal prints, they were the unmistakable impressions of human feet. Hiroshi's heart quickened, a mixture of excitement and caution threading through his veins. "Someone's been here recently," Leilani observed, her voice a soft melody in the morning air. She knelt beside the tracks, her fingers brushing the earth with the tenderness of a healer. "We should be careful." They exchanged glances, the weight of the unknown settling over them like a shroud. Yet, there was also a flicker of intrigue, a curiosity that refused to be quelled. Who else roamed this verdant wilderness? Was it friend or foe? The questions hung in the air, unanswered but not forgotten. As they resumed their journey, the jungle around them seemed to shift, its secrets whispering through the leaves. The air was thick with anticipation, every rustle and distant call a reminder of the unseen eyes that might be watching. Yet, despite the uncertainty, Hiroshi felt a thrill, a sense of adventure that quickened his pulse and sharpened his senses. The path they followed wound through a series of narrow ravines, the rock walls towering above them like ancient guardians. Here, the air was cooler, carrying with it the scent of damp stone and the distant murmur of water. Hiroshi felt a sense of calm here, as if the very earth was offering its protection, wrapping them in its steadfast embrace. The day passed in a blur of vivid impressions, each moment a brushstroke on the canvas of their journey. The jungle was alive with color and sound, a symphony of life that played to the rhythm of their hearts. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with the deep hues of dusk, they made camp beside a gentle stream. The fire they kindled was a beacon in the encroaching darkness, its warmth a balm against the chill of night. They sat in a circle, the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. Hiroshi watched the dance of light and shadow, his mind drifting to thoughts of home, of the family he had left behind. The ache in his heart was a familiar companion, a reminder of all he had lost and all he still hoped to find. Takashi broke the silence, his voice low and contemplative. "Do you ever wonder what waits for us beyond this jungle?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the fire. Hiroshi nodded, the question resonating deep within him. "I do," he admitted, his voice a whisper against the night. "But whatever it is, we'll face it together." Leilani smiled, her presence a comforting anchor in the sea of uncertainty. "We will," she agreed, her words a pledge, a promise. As the fire crackled and the stars emerged, pinpricks of light in the velvet sky, Hiroshi felt a sense of peace settle over him. The journey was far from over, the path ahead still shrouded in mystery. But here, in the embrace of the jungle, surrounded by friends who had become family, he found solace. The future was unwritten, a story yet to be told, but he faced it with hope, with courage, and with the unyielding belief that they would find their way. The jungle whispered its secrets to the night, the shadows lengthened, and the world turned in its eternal dance. And as Hiroshi closed his eyes, the dreams that came were filled with promise, a tapestry of light and shadow that wove a new beginning from the threads of the past. The dawn would come, and with it, a new chapter in their journey. Together, they would face the unknown, their spirits unbroken, their hearts united by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The first light of dawn crept into the jungle like a gentle wave upon a quiet shore, casting the world in soft hues of gold and green. The leaves glistened with morning dew, each droplet capturing the light and refracting it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. The air was fresh and cool, carrying the scent of earth and growth, a reminder of the endless cycle of life that continued unabated, indifferent to the struggles of men. Hiroshi awoke to the symphony of the forest, the calls of birds greeting the new day, the rustle of small creatures going about their morning rituals. His body ached from the exertions of the previous day, but his spirit felt renewed. The night's dreams lingered at the edges of his consciousness, whispering of hope and renewal, and he clung to them as he readied himself for what lay ahead. Kazuo was already awake, crouching by the remnants of the fire, coaxing it back to life with careful hands. His face was calm and focused, a picture of resilience and determination. Hiroshi marveled at his friend's unwavering strength, a beacon that guided them all through the darkest times. "Good morning," Hiroshi greeted, his voice still rough with sleep. Kazuo looked up, a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. "Morning, Hiroshi. Sleep well?" "Well enough," Hiroshi replied, stretching his arms towards the sky. "I dreamed of home, of the cherry blossoms in spring." Kazuo nodded, understanding the unspoken yearning beneath Hiroshi's words. "We'll see them again. First, we must find our way out of this place." As the others stirred awake, they gathered around the fire, sharing what little food they had left. The mood was somber but not without hope. Every bite, every shared glance, was a testament to their shared resolve, a silent vow to see their journey through to whatever end awaited them. With the sun rising higher, they packed their meager belongings and set off once more into the heart of the jungle. The path was treacherous, tangled with vines and hidden roots that threatened to trip the unwary. Yet, there was a beauty in the chaos, a wildness that spoke to the untamed spirit within them all. The forest was alive with sound, the chatter of monkeys swinging through the canopy, the distant roar of a waterfall hidden deep within the emerald depths. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, a dance with fate that demanded courage and trust. Hours passed, the sun now a burning orb overhead, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The heat was oppressive, the air heavy with humidity that clung to their skin like a second layer. Yet, they pressed on, driven by the promise of freedom, of a life beyond the confines of war. It was Aiko who first sensed the change, a shift in the air that prickled at her senses. She paused, her head tilting slightly as if listening to a voice only she could hear. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice a soft murmur that carried an edge of caution. The group halted, straining to listen. At first, there was nothing but the usual symphony of the jungle, a cacophony of life that filled every corner of their world. But then, faint and distant, came a new sound, the low rumble of engines, the unmistakable growl of machinery cutting through the natural harmony. Hiroshi's heart skipped a beat, a thrill of adrenaline coursing through him. It could be a road, he suggested, hope and wariness warring within him. A road meant civilization, a way back to the world they had been torn from. But it also meant danger, the possibility of enemy patrols and ambushes. Kazuo nodded, his expression grave. "We must be careful," he cautioned. "But it could be our way out." With renewed urgency, they altered their course, moving towards the source of the sound. The jungle seemed to close in around them, the trees arching overhead like ancient sentinels guarding their secrets. The noise grew louder, more distinct, until at last they emerged onto the edge of a cleared path, a narrow dirt road snaking its way through the wilderness. For a moment, they stood in awe, the reality of their discovery sinking in. The road was a lifeline, a connection to the outside world that had seemed so distant and unreachable. Yet it was also a reminder of the war that raged beyond the tranquil haven of the jungle. "We need to decide our next move," Hiroshi said, his voice steady but laced with unspoken fears. "Do we follow the road and risk running into enemy patrols, or do we continue through the jungle and hope to find another way?" The group exchanged glances, each weighing the risks and rewards. It was a choice fraught with peril, a crossroads that could lead to salvation or disaster. Aiko, her eyes bright with determination, spoke first. "We can't stay hidden forever. We must take the risk and find a way back to our lines." Kazuo nodded in agreement, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "The road may be dangerous, but it's our best chance." Hiroshi felt the familiar tug of fear, the instinct to hide and survive. But he also felt the pull of hope, the promise of a future beyond the shadows of war. "Then we follow the road," he decided, his voice firm. Together, with their path chosen, they set out once more, their footsteps echoing on the hard-packed earth. The road stretched out before them, a ribbon of possibility winding through the jungle. The journey was far from over, the challenges still to be faced, but with each step, the weight of uncertainty lifted, replaced by the lightness of purpose. As they walked, the jungle seemed to recede, the trees parting to reveal glimpses of sky and sunlit clearings. The air was filled with the scent of hope, a sweet promise carried on the breeze. The road was a thread connecting them to the world they had left behind, a reminder of all they had fought for, a world of peace and possibility, of cherry blossoms in spring. The journey was not without its moments of suspense, the rustle of leaves or the crack of a branch enough to send their hearts racing. But together, they faced each challenge with courage, their bonds forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the shared dream of freedom. And so they walked on, their spirits unbroken, their hearts united by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The road lay before them, a path through the unknown, but with each step, they moved closer to home, to a future waiting just beyond the horizon. In the end, it was not the road that defined them, but the journey itself, the friendships forged, the dreams kindled, and the unyielding belief that together, they would find their way. The jungle had been their prison, their sanctuary, and now, their gateway to a new beginning. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Hiroshi felt a quiet certainty settle over him. The journey was far from over, but they were no longer lost. They were a band of brothers and sisters, united by hope, guided by courage, and bound by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As night unfurled its velvet cloak, the jungle hummed with a symphony of cicadas and whispering leaves, a lullaby that guided Hiroshi and his companions deeper into the heart of mystery. Shadows danced in the periphery of their vision, flickering like ghosts of the past, and the air was thick with the scent of earth and anticipation. Each step they took was a testament to their resolve, a silent promise to each other and to the dreams that kept them moving forward. The moon, a silent sentinel in the sky, cast its silvery glow over the forest, illuminating a narrow path through the dense foliage. Hiroshi led the way, his senses attuned to the rhythm of the night. The others followed closely, their footsteps synchronizing into a harmonious cadence that spoke of trust and shared purpose. As they navigated this nocturnal realm, the jungle seemed to breathe around them, an ancient and living entity that cradled secrets within its emerald depths. The rustling of leaves became a language of its own, carrying tales of those who had walked these paths before, of triumphs and tragedies long forgotten. It was in this living tapestry that Hiroshi felt a presence, a gentle tug at the edge of his awareness, as if the forest itself was guiding them. He paused, raising a hand to signal the others. They gathered around him, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the moonlight filtering through the canopy. "We're close," Hiroshi murmured, his voice barely a whisper yet resonating with certainty. The others nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in their eyes. They had been traveling for days, the journey both arduous and transformative. Here, in this moment of stillness, they could almost taste the promise of freedom that lay ahead. The path meandered through a grove of ancient trees, their gnarled roots weaving a tapestry across the forest floor. As they walked, the canopy above thinned, revealing glimpses of the starlit sky, a celestial map guiding them toward destiny. With each step, the air grew cooler, carrying with it the scent of water and the distant murmur of a river. The sound of flowing water grew louder, a siren call that pulled them forward with renewed vigor. They emerged from the dense undergrowth onto the banks of a wide river, its surface shimmering under the moon's watchful gaze. The sight filled them with awe, a reminder of the beauty that thrived even in the midst of adversity. Hiroshi knelt at the water's edge, cupping his hands to drink. The water was cool and refreshing, a balm to their weary souls. The others followed suit, their laughter mingling with the gentle babble of the river. In this moment of respite, they allowed themselves to dream of what lay beyond, of the lives they would rebuild once they reached safety. Yet, as the night deepened, a sense of unease crept into the edges of their consciousness, a reminder that danger still lurked in the shadows. The jungle was a world of dualities, where beauty and peril coexisted in a delicate balance. Hiroshi felt it keenly, an instinct honed by months of surviving against the odds. "We should rest here for a few hours," Hiroshi suggested, his gaze sweeping the area. "The river will guide us in the morning." The group agreed, their exhaustion evident in their weary expressions. They set up a makeshift camp, arranging themselves in a loose circle with their backs to the trees for protection. The night air was cool, a gentle caress against their sunburnt skin, and the sound of the river lulled them into a fitful sleep. Hiroshi took the first watch, his senses alert as he scanned the darkness for any signs of movement. The forest was a world unto itself, its denizens busy with the nocturnal rituals that had played out for centuries. In the distance, the call of a nightbird echoed, a haunting melody that seemed to speak of longing and loss. As he sat there, Hiroshi's thoughts drifted to his family, to the life he had left behind and the future he dared to imagine. The war had torn so many lives apart, leaving scars both visible and unseen. Yet here, under the stars, he felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that perhaps, just perhaps, they could find their way back to a world of peace. Time passed in a slow, languid dance, the minutes stretching into hours. Hiroshi's mind wandered through memories, each one a thread in the tapestry of his life. He thought of his childhood, of the laughter and love that had filled those early years, and of the dreams he had carried with him into adulthood. The jungle was a patient companion, its silence a canvas upon which his thoughts played. As the first light of dawn brushed the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Hiroshi felt a stirring of anticipation. The river, a ribbon of silver in the dawn light, beckoned them onward. Gently, he roused the others, their faces soft and unguarded in the early morning light. They rose with a quiet determination, gathering their belongings and preparing to continue their journey. The river would be their guide, a constant presence as they navigated the final stretch of their odyssey. The path along the riverbank was treacherous, a narrow trail that wound its way through dense vegetation and over rocky terrain. Yet they moved with purpose, their steps sure and unerring, driven by the knowledge that each step brought them closer to home. As the sun climbed higher, casting warm rays upon their backs, the jungle came alive with color and sound. Birds flitted through the trees, their plumage a riot of hues against the backdrop of green. The air was thick with the scent of blossoms and earth, a heady perfume that invigorated their senses. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, Hiroshi felt a quiet confidence growing within him. The journey had tested them in ways they could never have imagined, forging bonds that transcended words and forged a family out of strangers. Together, they pressed on, their spirits buoyed by the promise of a new beginning. The jungle, once a labyrinth of uncertainty, had become a haven, a place that had taught them resilience and strength. And as they walked, Hiroshi knew that they were not alone. The forest itself seemed to walk alongside them, a guardian and a guide on this final leg of their journey. The river, ever constant, whispered its secrets to the trees, bearing witness to their passage. And as they walked, Hiroshi felt the weight of the past begin to lift, replaced by the lightness of hope and the certainty of a brighter tomorrow. In this verdant sanctuary, they found solace and strength, their hearts united by a shared purpose and the unyielding belief that together, they would find their way home. The jungle had been their crucible, their sanctuary, and now, their gateway to a new beginning. And as they walked, they carried with them the lessons of the journey, the friendships forged in the fires of adversity, and the promise of a future waiting just beyond the horizon. The sun's rays filtered through the canopy, casting dapples of light that danced across the forest floor in a mosaic of gold and green. The air was heavy with the scent of earth and life, a rich perfume that seemed to seep into their very bones, filling Hiroshi and his companions with a sense of invigoration. They moved with a new energy, their steps lighter, as if the forest itself were propelling them forward, urging them towards the unknown that lay ahead. As they journeyed deeper into the heart of the jungle, the path began to change, its familiarity giving way to a sense of newness, as if the land itself were reshaping in response to their passage. The trees, ancient sentinels of this verdant realm, seemed to lean in closer, their leaves whispering secrets of the ages. Hiroshi could feel a subtle electricity in the air, a tingling anticipation that set his senses alight. The river, their constant companion, had grown wider, its waters swirling in an intricate dance that mirrored their own journey. It sang a song of persistence and change, a melody that resonated within Hiroshi's soul, reminding him of the impermanence of all things, and the beauty that lay in embracing the flow of life. He glanced at his companions, their faces etched with determination and the quiet resolve of those who had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Yet, amidst the tranquility of the jungle, there lingered an undercurrent of suspense, a tension that crackled beneath the surface like a hidden current. It was as if the jungle, in all its wisdom, was testing them one final time, presenting challenges to ensure they were truly ready for what awaited beyond its borders. Their first test came as the path led them to a clearing, an expanse of open land that felt strangely out of place in the dense embrace of the forest. The ground was marked with strange patterns, circles and lines etched into the earth with a precision that spoke of deliberate intent. Hiroshi paused, his gaze tracing the designs, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. It was as if they had stumbled upon a relic of an ancient time, a forgotten place steeped in mystery and the echoes of those who had come before. "This place," whispered Kenji, his voice barely above a breath. "It feels different." Hiroshi nodded, his eyes scanning the perimeter of the clearing. There was a stillness here, a quiet that was both profound and unsettling, as if the very air were holding its breath. A soft breeze stirred the leaves, carrying with it a faint, melodic sound that seemed to rise from the ground itself. It was haunting and beautiful, a song that spoke of the past and of the spirits that dwelled within the land. "We should be cautious," Hiroshi murmured, his instincts urging him to move with care. "There is power in this place, ancient and unknown." With reverence, they crossed the clearing, their footsteps careful and measured. As they moved, Hiroshi felt a sense of connection, a thread that linked them to the stories of those who had walked this path long before them. It was a reminder of their place in the tapestry of life, a single thread woven into the greater design of the universe. Beyond the clearing, the jungle resumed its embrace, the path winding through thickets of bamboo and towering ferns. The air here was cooler, a gentle balm against their skin, and Hiroshi felt a sense of peace settle over him, the tension of the clearing fading into the background. Yet, he remained alert, his senses attuned to the subtle shifts in the environment, ever watchful for the signs of what lay ahead. As they continued, the sound of the river grew louder, its voice a constant companion that guided them forward. They followed its course, navigating the twists and turns with a grace born of experience. The river had become a symbol of their journey, a reminder of the challenges overcome and the strength found within. Then, as the day began to wane, They reached a point where the river widened into a vast expanse of water, its surface shimmering like liquid silver under the fading light of the sun. It was a breathtaking sight, a moment of serene beauty that stole their breath away. Hiroshi stood at the water's edge, his heart swelling with a sense of awe and gratitude. "This," he said softly, "is where we make our crossing." The river, wide and deep, presented a formidable challenge, yet Hiroshi felt no fear. The lessons of the jungle had taught him to trust in his abilities, to draw strength from the bonds forged with his companions. Together, they crafted a plan, their minds sharp and focused, driven by the shared goal of reaching the other side. As night fell, they set about constructing a raft, using the resources provided by the jungle itself. It was a labor of love and necessity, each of them contributing their skills and knowledge to the task. The raft took shape under their hands, a vessel that would carry them across the waters and into the next chapter of their journey. The moon rose high above, casting a silver glow over the landscape, illuminating their work with its gentle light. The jungle around them seemed to hold its breath, a silent witness to their efforts, the air thick with anticipation. Hiroshi felt a sense of calm settle over him, a trust in the path they had chosen and the journey they had undertaken. When at last the raft was completed, they gathered at the water's edge, their hearts united in purpose. The river, a living being in its own right, seemed to welcome them, its waters lapping gently at the shore, a promise of safe passage. With a final glance at the jungle that had been their home and sanctuary, Hiroshi stepped onto the raft, his companions following suit. Together, they pushed off from the shore, the raft gliding smoothly onto the waters. The river embraced them, its currents guiding them forward, a gentle hand leading them towards the unknown. As they drifted across the moonlit expanse, Hiroshi felt a sense of liberation, the weight of the past slipping away, replaced by the promise of the future. They had faced the darkness, emerged into the light, and now, they were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that together, they could overcome any obstacle. The jungle, their teacher and guide, receded into the distance, its secrets and mysteries a cherished memory, a part of who they had become. And as the river carried them onward, Hiroshi knew with certainty that they were heading towards a new dawn, a place where hope and possibility awaited, just beyond the horizon. The river's rhythm was a lullaby, a soothing cadence that matched the beating of their hearts. The moon hung high in the night sky, its silver light dancing on the water's surface, playing tricks with shadows and shapes that flitted by on the banks. Hiroshi's senses were keenly tuned to the symphony of the night. The distant call of an owl, the rustle of leaves as a nocturnal creature stirred, the gentle splash of water as their oars dipped in unison. The cool breeze carried with it the scent of the river, earthy and tangy, with a hint of the unknown lands that awaited them. Hiroshi inhaled deeply, letting the air fill his lungs, feeling alive in a way he had not felt in years. The night was alive with potential, every ripple of the water a whisper of promises yet to be fulfilled. As they drifted further, the river's course began to change, its once gentle flow becoming more assertive, as if urging them onward with greater urgency. Hiroshi tightened his grip on the oar, his muscles responding to the river's demands. The raft swayed with the current, a dance between man and nature, a test of their resolve. His companions were alert, eyes scanning the banks for signs of danger, ears attuned to the river's song. There was an unspoken understanding among them, a bond forged in the crucible of war and survival. They had learned to read the signs of the land, to anticipate its moods, and now, they trusted in their instincts to guide them safely. As the night deepened, the river's path grew narrower, the banks pressing in close, shadowy sentinels watching their passage. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and foliage, an embrace that was both comforting and claustrophobic. Hiroshi could feel the tension among his comrades, a shared awareness that they were entering unfamiliar territory. The moonlight, once a beacon, now struggled to penetrate the canopy overhead, casting the river in a silvery twilight. The trees leaned in, their branches forming an intricate lattice that filtered the light into a soft, ethereal glow. It was both beautiful and eerie, a reminder of the jungle's ever-present mysteries. Hiroshi's mind wandered back to the stories of spirits that his grandmother used to tell, of river guardians and forest protectors who watched over travelers, guiding the worthy and leading astray those with ill intent. He found himself whispering a silent prayer to these unseen forces, asking for their blessing and protection. The river's voice changed, a low rumble growing in intensity, a warning of rapids ahead. Hiroshi's heart quickened, the thrill of the unknown mingling with a tinge of fear. They had navigated many challenges before, but the river was a fickle ally, its moods unpredictable. "Hold steady," Hiroshi called out, his voice firm but calm. His companions responded immediately, their movements synchronized, a testament to their shared experiences and trust. The raft surged forward, the water churning around them, a wild dance of foam and spray. Hiroshi felt the power of the river beneath him, a living force that demanded respect. His muscles strained as he guided the raft, his senses heightened, every fiber of his being focused on the task at hand. Time seemed to stretch, each moment an eternity as they rode the rapids, the world reduced to the roar of the water and the pounding of their hearts. Hiroshi was aware of his comrades beside him, each a part of this living machine, working in harmony to navigate the river's fury. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the turbulence subsided, the river's wrath giving way to a gentle embrace once more. They had passed the test, emerged unscathed, their spirits buoyed by the triumph. Laughter erupted among them, a release of tension, an acknowledgement of their victory. Hiroshi joined in, his laughter mingling with the river's song, a celebration of life and survival. As the echoes of their mirth faded, they settled into the rhythm of the journey once more, the river carrying them onward, a silent companion in their quest. The night wore on, the moon tracing its arc across the sky, a guardian watching over their passage. Hiroshi found himself lost in thought, the river's whispers a backdrop to his reflections. He pondered the path that had led them here, the choices made, the trials faced. Each step had been a part of a greater journey, a tapestry woven with threads of courage and hope, fear and resilience. The air grew cooler, a prelude to the dawn that would soon break. Hiroshi felt a stirring of anticipation, a longing for the light that would herald a new day, a new beginning. The river's course began to widen, the banks receding, the landscape opening up to new possibilities. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the world was bathed in a soft, golden glow. The river shimmered in the morning light, a ribbon of silver and gold, leading them onward to their destiny. Hiroshi felt a swell of emotion, a deep gratitude for the journey, for the lessons learned, for the bonds forged in the crucible of their experiences. The river had been their guide, the jungle their teacher, and now, as they neared their destination, he knew that they carried within them the strength and wisdom to face whatever lay ahead. The land that awaited them was unknown, its challenges and opportunities a mystery yet to be unveiled. But Hiroshi was unafraid, for he knew that they were not alone. Together, they would forge a new path, a future born of courage and unity, guided by the river's eternal song. As the sun rose higher, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange, Hiroshi turned to his companions, their faces reflecting the same determination and hope that burned within him. They had come far, overcome much, and now, they were ready to embrace the dawn of a new era. Their journey was not over, but together, they would face whatever came, united by the river's promise, the bond of friendship, and the unyielding spirit that had carried them through the darkest of nights. The river murmured along its ancient path, a constant presence that had watched over countless generations. Its waters whispered secrets of old, tales of love, loss, and resilience, flowing ever onward as a testament to the passage of time. As Hiroshi and his companions continued their journey, the river was both their guide and their guardian, its melodic gurgle a comforting balm against the harsh realities of their world. The dense canopy overhead filtered the sunlight into delicate patterns that danced across their path. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, a journey into a land that had been untouched by their presence until now. The jungle was alive with the calls of unseen creatures, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the gentle hum of life that thrived in its depths. The air was thick with the scent of earth and foliage, a rich tapestry of aromas that spoke of life and decay, of renewal and rebirth. The companions moved with purpose, their steps synchronized by a shared understanding and a common goal. They had been tested in the crucible of war, their spirits forged in the fires of adversity. Now, as they ventured into this new land, they carried with them the lessons of their past, the strength of their bonds, and the hope for a brighter tomorrow. Yuki, the youngest among them, walked with a spring in his step, his eyes wide with wonder at the vibrant world around him. He had been but a boy when the war began, his childhood stolen by the demands of survival. Yet here, in this lush paradise, he found traces of the innocence he had lost. The vibrant colors of the flowers, the playful chatter of the birds, the gentle caress of the breeze against his skin. All these were reminders of the beauty that still existed in the world, a beauty that had been obscured by the shadows of conflict. Beside him, Akira moved with a quiet grace, his eyes scanning the horizon with a practiced vigilance. He was the eldest of the group, a seasoned warrior whose wisdom had guided them through many trials. His face bore the marks of his experiences, lines etched by worry and laughter alike. Yet there was a softness in his gaze, a flicker of hope that belied the hardness of his exterior. He had seen the worst of humanity, but he had also glimpsed the best, and it was this duality that fueled his resolve. The path they followed was uneven, a winding trail that led them deeper into the heart of the unknown. As they walked, the landscape began to change, the dense jungle giving way to rolling hills and open meadows. The air was fresher here, filled with the scent of wildflowers and the distant promise of rain. The sky stretched wide above them, a vast expanse of blue that seemed to echo the limitless possibilities of the future. It was during one such moment, as they paused to rest in the shade of a solitary tree, that a sound reached their ears. A distant rumble, low and foreboding, like the growl of a restless beast. The companions exchanged wary glances, their instincts sharpened by years of danger. Hiroshi felt his heart quicken, a familiar rush of adrenaline that seemed to heighten his senses. "What do you think it is?" Yuki asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Akira frowned, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "It could be anything," he replied, his tone cautious. "A storm, perhaps, or..." His words were cut short by another rumble, louder this time, closer. The ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble, a subtle vibration that spoke of something more than mere weather. Hiroshi felt a knot form in his stomach, a sense of unease that he couldn't quite shake. "We should move," he said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty that gnawed at him. "Whatever it is, it's best we're not caught unprepared." With a nod of agreement, the companions gathered their belongings and set off once more, their pace quickened by the urgency of the unknown. The landscape around them shifted again, the open meadows giving way to rocky terrain and steep inclines. The path became more treacherous, demanding their full attention as they navigated the twists and turns. The rumble continued, a persistent presence that seemed to follow them, growing louder with each passing moment. It was a sound that defied explanation, a dissonant symphony of nature and something more, something that set their nerves on edge. As they climbed higher, the air grew cooler, the wind picking up strength and carrying with it the scent of rain. Hiroshi felt a drop of moisture on his cheek, a harbinger of the storm that seemed to be drawing ever nearer. Yet even as the sky darkened and the first raindrops began to fall, there was a strange beauty to the scene, a raw, untamed power that spoke of nature's indomitable spirit. The companions pressed on, their footsteps a steady rhythm against the backdrop of the storm. The rain fell in earnest now, a cleansing deluge that washed over them, soaking their clothes and mingling with the sweat on their skin. The path was slippery underfoot, the rocks slick with rainwater, but they moved with a determination born of necessity, driven by the need to find shelter before the full force of the storm was upon them. It was Yuki who spotted it first, A small cave nestled in the side of a hill, its entrance partially obscured by a tangle of vines. He pointed it out to the others, his voice barely audible above the roar of the wind. "There, we can take shelter there." With renewed hope, they made their way towards the cave, their pace quickening as the storm intensified. The entrance was narrow, but they squeezed through one by one, their breaths coming in short, ragged gasps as they sought refuge from the elements. Inside, the cave was cool and dry, a haven from the chaos outside. The walls were rough-hewn, worn smooth by time and the elements, and the floor was littered with small stones and debris. Hiroshi felt a sense of relief wash over him as he settled against the wall, his body weary but his spirit unbroken. The storm raged on outside, a symphony of thunder and wind that seemed to shake the very earth. Yet within the cave, there was a sense of peace, a moment of respite from the trials of their journey. The companions huddled together, their breaths mingling in the cool air, their hearts beating in unison. As the minutes stretched into hours, Hiroshi found himself lulled by the rhythm of the storm, his mind drifting in the space between wakefulness and sleep. He thought of the river, of its promise and its song, and of the journey that lay ahead. For now, they were safe, sheltered by the cave and the bonds that bound them. But the future was still unwritten, a canvas yet to be painted with the colors of their choices and their dreams. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, united by the river's promise and the strength of their shared experience. And so, as the storm raged on and the night deepened, Hiroshi closed his eyes, his heart at peace in the knowledge that they were not alone. Together, they would forge a new path, a future born of courage and unity, guided by the river's eternal song. The storm continued to lash against the rocks of the cave, its symphony of chaos a stark contrast to the tranquility within. The soft patter of rain on stone was almost soothing, a natural lullaby that wrapped the companions in a cocoon of temporary safety. Hiroshi, cocooned in his own thoughts, felt a deep sense of gratitude for this fleeting sanctuary. In this moment, beneath the constant drumming of the storm, there was a shared understanding among them, a silent promise that whatever awaited them beyond the cave, they would face it together. As the night wore on, the storm began to wane, its fury gradually replaced by a gentle drizzle. Hiroshi opened his eyes to the dim light of dawn filtering through the cave's entrance, painting the walls in shades of muted gold and gray. He could hear the river, its voice stronger now as if it was calling them to continue their journey. The sound resonated within him, a reminder of the path they must tread and the promises they must keep. Beside him, Takashi stirred, blinking sleep from his eyes. His expression was calm yet resolute, a mirror of Hiroshi's own resolve. "We should move," Takashi said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, not wanting to disturb the others still lost in their dreams. Hiroshi nodded, feeling the weight of the day ahead. They had rested, and now it was time to continue, to step back into the world beyond the cave's embrace. Carefully, he rose, mindful of his companions. Each one of them, mere silhouettes against the dim light, was a part of this journey, a thread in the tapestry of their shared destiny. The river's call was insistent now, a gentle roar that seemed to promise guidance and hope. They gathered their sparse belongings, each movement deliberate and purposeful. As they emerged from the cave, the world outside was washed clean, the rain having left behind an air crisp and invigorating. The landscape, though familiar, felt new again, as if the storm had breathed life into it, renewing its spirit. In the distance, the river glistened in the early morning light, its waters a ribbon of silver weaving through the verdant landscape. It was both a guide and a mystery, its end unknown but its journey certain. They began to walk, the earth soft beneath their feet, each step a testament to their determination and courage. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, the specter of war ever present, casting its long shadow over their every decision. Yet, in the quiet moments shared between them, there was laughter and stories from times past, memories woven into the very fabric of their being. These moments were a balm for their weary souls, a reminder of the humanity that endured amidst the chaos. As the sun climbed higher, its warmth a gentle caress on their skin, they followed the river's meandering course, each bend a new discovery. The landscape unfolded before them in a symphony of greens and blues, the air alive with the scents of earth and water. Birds flitted through the trees, their songs a joyous counterpoint to the river's steady drone. But as they journeyed deeper into the wilderness, a sense of unease began to creep into Hiroshi's heart. It was a subtle shift, a whisper on the wind that spoke of danger lurking just beyond the horizon. He felt it in the way the forest seemed to hold its breath, the silence between the calls of the creatures. It was as if the world itself was waiting, poised on the edge of something unknown. Their path led them to a crossroads, a fork in the river where the waters divided, each branch a potential path. Here, the decision lay heavy upon them, the weight of choice pressing down like the humid air around them. Hiroshi felt the eyes of his companions on him, their trust and unspoken bond that strengthened his resolve. "We follow the northern branch," he decided, his voice steady despite the uncertainty that churned within. The northern branch was narrower, its waters swift and turbulent, but it promised a quicker route through the mountains, away from the enemy's reach. Takashi nodded in agreement, his gaze meeting Hiroshi's with a look of shared understanding. They had come this far, and there was no turning back now. Together, they stepped onto the path that would lead them deeper into the heart of the unknown, their hearts beating in unison with the river's relentless pulse. The northern path was treacherous, the river's banks steep and slippery. The forest closed in around them, its dense canopy filtering the sunlight into a mosaic of shifting shadows. Each step required caution, every sound a potential sign of danger. Yet, with each mile they traversed, a sense of purpose grew within them, a feeling that they were drawing closer to something significant. The forest held secrets, whispers of the past mingling with the present. Occasionally, they would stumble upon remnants of old paths, the vestiges of forgotten travelers who had once walked this way. These traces of history, though faint, were a reminder of the countless souls who had traversed this land, each on their own journey, each with their own story. As the day wore on, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. Hiroshi could feel the fatigue setting in, his muscles protesting with every step. But he pushed on, driven by the river's call and the promise of a new dawn. It was when the light began to dim that they heard it, a rustle in the undergrowth, a sound out of place in the quiet of the evening. Instinctively, Hiroshi raised his hand, signaling for his companions to halt. They froze, senses heightened, every nerve attuned to the forest's whisper. The rustling grew louder, a presence that moved with intent. Hiroshi's heart pounded in his chest, the suspense a tangible force that thrummed in the air. And then, from the shadows, emerged a figure, a lone soldier, his uniform tattered, his expression one of wary surprise. For a moment, time seemed to stand still, the world narrowing to the space between them. The soldier's eyes met Hiroshi's, a flicker of recognition passing between them. It was a moment suspended in uncertainty, a fragile thread connecting two souls in a world torn apart by conflict. Hiroshi felt a surge of emotions, a mixture of fear and empathy, of shared humanity amidst the chaos. The soldier did not raise his weapon, did not call for reinforcements. Instead, he simply stood there, an enigma wrapped in the shadows of the forest. And then, as if sensing the unspoken understanding, the soldier nodded, a gesture of acknowledgement, a silent agreement to let this encounter pass without violence. It was a moment of grace, a brief respite in the endless cycle of war. As the soldier turned and melted back into the forest, Hiroshi released the breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The tension ebbed away, leaving behind a profound sense of relief and gratitude. They had been spared, and for that, he was thankful. The forest resumed its symphony, the rustle of leaves and the call of distant birds filling the silence. Hiroshi turned to his companions, their eyes reflecting the same relief, the same understanding. They had been given another day, another chance to continue their journey. With renewed determination, they pressed on, the river still guiding them, its song a constant companion in the fading light. The path ahead was still uncertain, the future unwritten, but they walked together, united by the bond of their shared experience and the promise of a new dawn. Night fell gently, the sky a tapestry of stars overhead. They found shelter beneath the wide branches of an ancient tree, its roots a cradle that embraced them in its ageless wisdom. As they settled in for the night, Hiroshi felt the weight of the day's journey slip away, replaced by a deep sense of peace and hope. In the quiet of the night, as the river sang its eternal song, Hiroshi closed his eyes, his heart full of gratitude and dreams yet to be realized. They were not alone, and together, they would forge a new path, guided by the river and the strength of their unity. The night wrapped them in its cool embrace, a velvet curtain that shielded them from the chaos of the world beyond. Hiroshi lay on the soft earth beneath the ancient tree, its massive trunk a silent sentinel standing guard over their slumber. The river continued its gentle serenade, a melody that danced in time with the rustling leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. In the shadows, the forest seemed to breathe, a living entity that held secrets older than time. The stars above twinkled like scattered diamonds on black velvet, each one a distant promise, a whisper of hope in the vast expanse of the universe. Hiroshi felt a connection to them, as if they were guiding lights, watching over his journey and illuminating the path ahead. Beside him, Akio stirred, his breathing steady and calm, a rhythmic counterpoint to the symphony of the night. Hiroshi turned his head slightly, catching the faint outline of his friend's face, illuminated by the soft glow of starlight. It was a face etched with the trials of their journey, yet still carrying the resilience and determination that had brought them this far. As dreams began to weave their gentle spell, Hiroshi found himself drifting into a world where past and future blurred into one. In his mind, he saw the faces of his family, remembered the laughter of his children, the comforting warmth of his wife's embrace. These memories were like a balm, soothing the raw edges of his soul, reminding him of the life he had left behind and the one he hoped to return to. But amidst these tender recollections, shadows lurked, reminders of the path they had walked. The echo of gunfire, the cries of comrades lost in battle, the ever-present specter of danger that had stalked them across the lands. These memories were not easily banished, and they danced on the edges of his consciousness, a stark contrast to the peace of the present moment. Yet, Hiroshi knew that each shadow was not just a mark of fear but also a testament to their survival, a reminder of their strength and the bond that had grown between him and Akio. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged into the light, and it was this unity that would see them through to the end of their journey. As the night deepened, Hiroshi's dreams carried him further, to a place where the river led not just through the forest, but across landscapes of possibility. He saw fields of golden wheat swaying in the breeze, villages bustling with life, and children playing in the sunlight. These visions were not just dreams, he realized, but seeds of hope, nurtured by the soil of courage and the water of determination. He awoke with the first light of dawn, the soft glow of morning painting the world in hues of gold and rose. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying with it the scent of pine and earth, a reminder of the life that thrived all around them. Akio was already awake, sitting quietly as he watched the river, his expression thoughtful yet serene. "Another day," Hiroshi murmured, stretching his limbs and feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin. "A new beginning." Akio nodded, his eyes reflecting the morning light. Yes, and with it, new possibilities. They shared a simple breakfast, savoring the nourishment that fueled their bodies and spirits. The river, ever faithful, continued its journey, a silver ribbon weaving through the landscape. It seemed to beckon them onward, urging them to follow its course, to trust in its wisdom and embrace the unknown. As they resumed their journey, the forest began to thin, revealing glimpses of open fields beyond. The transition was gradual, each step taking them closer to a world that felt both familiar and foreign. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows and warming the earth beneath their feet. The land around them was marked by the scars of conflict, remnants of battles fought and won, yet nature had begun its quiet reclamation, healing the wounds with green tendrils and vibrant blooms. It was a reminder of the resilience of life, an echo of their own journey, and the promise that from destruction could come rebirth. With each mile, they encountered signs of life returning, the distant sound of voices carried on the wind, the laughter of children playing in the fields. These sounds were like music, a symphony of hope that filled the air and buoyed their spirits. Yet, amidst the beauty, there was a sense of unease, a tension that lay beneath the surface, whispering of challenges yet to come. Hiroshi felt it in the pit of his stomach, a knot of anticipation that tightened with each step. He glanced at Akio, sensing that his friend shared the same unspoken awareness. The path led them to a small village nestled in a valley, its houses clustered around a central square. Smoke rose from chimneys, and the scent of cooking food filled the air, a tantalizing reminder of comforts long missed. The villagers moved about their daily tasks, their faces etched with the lines of endurance and hope. As Hiroshi and Akio entered the village, they were met with curious glances, eyes that studied them with a mixture of suspicion and welcome. It was a place where strangers were rare, yet the villagers understood the journey marked upon the faces of those who had come before. An elder approached, his gait slow but steady, wisdom and experience radiating from his being. He greeted them with a nod, his gaze piercing yet kind. "You have traveled far," he said, his voice a deep rumble that spoke of years lived and stories told. Hiroshi bowed respectfully, gratitude and humility in his eyes. "Yes, we have. We seek shelter and rest before continuing on." The elder studied them for a moment, his eyes searching for something unspoken. Satisfied, he gestured for them to follow. "You are welcome here. We have little, but what we have, we share." The village embraced them, offering food, warmth, and a place to rest. As they settled in, Hiroshi felt the weight of their journey lift, replaced by the warmth of community and the comfort of shared humanity. Yet, even in the safety of the village, the shadows lingered, whispering of challenges yet to come and decisions yet to be made. Hiroshi knew that their journey was far from over, and that the path ahead would demand all their courage and strength. But for now, beneath the watchful eyes of the mountains and the gentle embrace of the valley, they found peace. And in that peace, Hiroshi allowed himself to hope, to dream of a future where the river would lead them home. As the evening sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold, the village came alive with the gentle hum of life. The scent of wood smoke mingled with the crisp mountain air, creating a comforting cocoon around Hiroshi and his companions. The villagers, with their weathered faces and kind eyes, moved with a quiet grace, their lives in tune with the rhythm of the land. Hiroshi observed these men and women, their hands skilled in the art of survival, their spirits unbroken despite the harshness of their existence. He marveled at their resilience, at their ability to carve out a sanctuary amidst the chaos of a world at war. Here, the war seemed a distant nightmare, its echoes softened by the enveloping embrace of nature and community. As night fell, the village gathered around a central fire, its flames dancing in the cool breeze. Hiroshi and Takeshi were invited to join the circle, where stories were shared, each tale weaving a tapestry of history, legend, and hope. The elder, whose name they learned was Kenji, recounted an ancient story, his voice a melodic cadence that seemed to blend with the crackling of the fire. "There was once a river," Kenji began, his eyes reflecting the flickering light, a river that knew the secrets of the world. It flowed from the heart of the mountains, carrying with it the wisdom of ages past. Those who followed its course found themselves transformed, for the river had the power to reveal the truth of one's soul. Hiroshi listened intently, the story resonating deeply within him. He thought of their journey, of the river that had guided them here, and wondered what truths it might reveal to him. The fire's warmth seeped into his bones, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he allowed himself to relax, to let go of the burdens he carried. As the evening wore on, Takeshi, ever curious and eager to learn, began to ask questions about the village, about their way of life. The villagers responded with warmth, their voices tinged with pride as they spoke of their traditions, their connection to the land, and their unwavering hope for peace. Hiroshi admired Takeshi's ability to engage with them, his genuine interest breaking down barriers and forging bonds. Yet, amidst the camaraderie and the warmth of the fire, a shadow lingered at the edges of Hiroshi's mind. He knew that their respite was temporary, that the world beyond the village still awaited them with all its uncertainties. The path they must take was fraught with danger, and the choices they would face could alter the course of their lives forever. Later, as the fire died down and the villagers began to drift away to their homes, Hiroshi and Takeshi were shown to a small hut where they would spend the night. The interior was simple, yet inviting, with mats laid out for sleeping and a small altar adorned with offerings to the spirits. Takeshi fell asleep almost immediately, his youthful energy finally succumbing to the exhaustion of their journey. Hiroshi, however, found himself unable to sleep. He lay on his mat, staring up at the woven ceiling, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The river, the journey, the choices that lay ahead, they all swirled together, forming a tapestry of uncertainty and resolve. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, a gentle lullaby that eventually coaxed him into a restless slumber. In his dreams, Hiroshi found himself standing by the river once more. The water shimmered under the moonlight, its surface a mirror reflecting the stars. He felt a pull, a call from the depths, urging him to step forward, to let the current carry him to places unknown. He hesitated, fear and anticipation warring within him. But as he stood there, the river spoke to him in a language of ripples and waves, its voice a soothing melody that promised guidance and understanding. When he awoke, the first light of dawn was creeping through the cracks in the walls, painting the room in soft shades of morning. Hiroshi sat up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and noticed Takeshi already awake, sitting cross-legged and looking contemplatively out the small window. "Did you sleep well?" Hiroshi asked, moving to sit beside his friend. Takeshi nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I had a dream," he said, his voice quiet and reflective. "I was on a path through the forest, and there were these birds, guiding me. They led me to a clearing where I could see the whole world stretched out before me." Hiroshi smiled, feeling a connection to Takeshi's dream, as if the river in his own dreams had shown him a similar vision. They sat in silence for a while, the world waking up around them, the village coming to life with the sounds of morning. The day unfolded with a gentle rhythm, the villagers going about their tasks with a quiet determination. Hiroshi and Takeshi helped where they could, eager to repay the kindness they had been shown. They learned more about the village, its history and its people, each story a thread in the rich tapestry of life here. Yet, even as they immersed themselves in the village life, the call of the journey ahead remained ever present, a reminder that their time here was fleeting. Kenji, sensing their restlessness, approached them after the midday meal, his expression serious yet understanding. "You have found peace here," he said, his voice steady and wise. "But the river calls you onward, does it not?" Hiroshi nodded, grateful for the elder's insight. "It does. We have been given a gift, a moment of respite, but we must continue our journey." Kenji regarded them with a compassionate gaze. "The path you walk is not easy, but you carry with you the strength of your ancestors, and the wisdom of the river will guide you. Remember, the journey itself is as important as the destination." With Kenji's words echoing in their hearts, Hiroshi and Takeshi prepared to leave the village, their spirits renewed, their resolve strengthened. The villagers gathered to bid them farewell, offering small tokens of luck and protection for their journey. As they set out once more, Hiroshi felt a sense of gratitude and purpose. The river lay ahead, its course unknown, but he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. With Takeshi by his side and the memory of the village in his heart, he felt a quiet confidence, a belief in the power of hope and the possibility of a brighter future. The path wound through the mountains, the air crisp and invigorating, the landscape a canvas of breathtaking beauty. They walked in silence, each step a meditation, the rhythm of their movement in harmony with the pulse of the earth. And as they journeyed on, Hiroshi felt the river's presence, a constant companion, its whispers a reminder that they were never truly alone. The world they were returning to was uncertain, fraught with the shadows of war, but within him burned a light, a hope that, against all odds, they would find their way home. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the rocky terrain. Hiroshi and Takeshi continued their journey, the village fading into memory as the wilderness unfolded before them. The air was filled with the scent of pine and the distant call of a lone bird, a melody that intertwined with the soft murmurs of the river beside them. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, yet the rhythm of their journey was calming, a reminder of the resilience that had carried them this far. The path was narrow and often treacherous, winding its way through the dense forest. The trees stood tall and proud, their branches interlocking like the hands of ancient guardians. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, painting the forest floor with patches of golden light. Hiroshi felt the cool earth beneath his feet, a grounding force that steadied his resolve. As they walked, Takeshi spoke of the future, of dreams long held but never voiced. His words were hopeful, tinged with a wistfulness that resonated deeply within Hiroshi. Takeshi spoke of returning to his hometown, a place untouched by the ravages of war, where fields of cherry blossoms would sway gently in the spring breeze. Hiroshi listened, picturing the vibrant colors and the soft petals drifting through the air like snowflakes. But as the shadows lengthened and the light began to fade, a sense of unease crept into Hiroshi's mind. The forest, though beautiful, was vast and unknown. Its mysteries were hidden beneath layers of foliage and shadow, and every rustle in the undergrowth sent a shiver down his spine. He glanced at Takeshi, who wore a similar expression of vigilance, his eyes scanning the surroundings with quiet intensity. Nightfall came swiftly, wrapping the forest in a cloak of darkness. They found a small clearing beside the river, a place where the canopy parted to reveal a sky filled with stars. The river glistened in the moonlight, its surface a tapestry of silver and shadow. Hiroshi and Takeshi set up a small camp, their fire a warm beacon in the cool night air. The crackling of the fire was soothing, its glow casting flickering shadows that danced like spirits around them. They sat in silence, the companionship of the moment deeper than words. Hiroshi watched the flames, their hypnotic dance drawing him into a state of quiet contemplation. The river's song was a lullaby, a gentle reminder of the journey ahead. Yet, beneath the tranquility, a tension simmered. The forest was alive with nocturnal creatures, their calls echoing through the trees. There was a sense of watchfulness in the air, as if unseen eyes were observing their every move. Hiroshi felt it, a prickle of awareness at the back of his neck. The forest, though beautiful, was not without its dangers. As the fire burned low, Hiroshi and Takeshi prepared to rest, their bodies weary from the day's travel. They lay on the soft earth, the sky a vast expanse of twinkling stars above them. Hiroshi closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the night wash over him. The river, the wind in the trees, the distant call of an owl, all were woven together in a symphony of nature. But sleep was elusive, the shadows whispering secrets and fears in the quiet of the night. Hiroshi lay awake, his mind drifting between dreams and reality. He thought of the village they had left behind, of the warmth and kindness they had found there. He thought of home, of a life beyond the war, of peace. Suddenly, a sound broke the stillness, a rustling in the undergrowth, too deliberate to be the wind. Hiroshi's eyes snapped open, his heart racing. He sat up, alert, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Takeshi was already awake, his hand resting silently on his knife, his eyes fixed on the shadows. The rustling grew louder, closer, and Hiroshi felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. They were not alone. The forest held its breath, the night air taut with anticipation. Hiroshi's mind raced, assessing the situation, preparing for whatever lay in the dark. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged, small, cautious, yet unmistakably human. A child, no more than 10 years old, stepped into the clearing, his eyes wide with fear and curiosity. He was ragged and dirty, his clothes torn and his hair matted with leaves. The boy hesitated at the edge of the firelight, unsure and trembling. Hiroshi and Takeshi exchanged a glance, surprise and relief mingling in their expressions. They slowly rose to their feet, careful not to startle the child. Hiroshi approached with gentle steps, his hands open to show he meant no harm. "Hello," Hiroshi said softly, his voice calming and kind. "Are you lost?" The boy nodded, his eyes darting between Hiroshi and Takeshi, his fear slowly giving way to trust. He took a tentative step forward, drawn to the warmth of the fire and the safety it promised. "Come, sit with us," Takeshi offered, his tone gentle and reassuring. "You're safe here." The boy hesitated for a moment longer, then moved forward, his small frame illuminated by the fire's glow. He sat beside Hiroshi, his eyes fixed on the flames, the fear in his expression softening. "What's your name?" Hiroshi asked, his voice a soothing balm against the child's uncertainty. "Akira," the boy replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Akira," Hiroshi repeated, the name a promise of safety and hope. "We're glad you found us." As the fire crackled and the night deepened, Akira began to speak, his story unfolding in hesitant fragments. He spoke of a village far to the north, of fleeing into the forest when soldiers came, of wandering alone, searching for safety. His story was one of survival, of resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. Listening to Akira, Hiroshi felt a profound sense of empathy and determination. The boy's journey mirrored their own, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. He vowed silently to protect Akira, to ensure that he would not face the dangers of the forest alone. As the night wore on, a sense of camaraderie blossomed in the clearing, the fire a symbol of hope and unity. Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira sat together, their hearts bound by shared experiences and the promise of a brighter future. The river sang its eternal song, a gentle lullaby that carried them into a deep, restful sleep. The forest watched over them, its mysteries and dangers momentarily forgotten in the embrace of the night. And as the stars wheeled overhead, Hiroshi dreamed of home, of peace, and of the journey yet to come. In the quiet pre-dawn hours, the forest began to stir with life. The first tendrils of light crept through the canopy, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor. A chorus of birds greeted the morning with songs both sweet and cacophonous, a symphony in celebration of the new day. Hiroshi awoke to this gentle awakening of the world, his spirit refreshed though the weight of their journey still lingered in his mind. He lay still for a moment, listening to the harmonious interplay of nature's sounds. The river's song was a constant, flowing rhythm beneath the avian chorus. It was a reminder of the path that lay ahead, a thread of continuity in a world where so much had been interrupted. Takeshi stirred beside him, blinking groggily against the early light. His face bore the marks of exhaustion, but his eyes shone with a renewed spark. "Another day," he murmured, stretching his limbs and casting off the last vestiges of sleep. Hiroshi nodded, a silent agreement passing between them. They both understood the urgency of their journey, the need to keep moving. Yet there was solace in these morning moments, a brief respite to gather strength before facing whatever challenges lay ahead. Akira, too, was awake, his small form huddled beneath a makeshift blanket. He watched the two older soldiers with eyes that held both curiosity and admiration. The bond they had forged the night before was evident in the way they moved together, a seamless unit despite the vast differences in their ages and experiences. As they broke their fast with a simple meal of foraged berries and dried fish, Hiroshi and Takeshi discussed their next steps. The forest was vast and the path uncertain, but they were determined to find a safe passage through. The map they had was rudimentary at best, a tattered piece of paper that offered little more than a vague outline of the terrain. "We'll follow the river," Hiroshi suggested, tracing a finger along the map. "It should lead us to the coast eventually. From there, we can find a way to signal for help." Takeshi nodded, his gaze steady. "The river is our guide, then. And the forest, it is both friend and foe." Akira listened with rapt attention, his youthful face set with determination. He had no map, no compass, but he had something just as valuable: the instincts of a survivor. His knowledge of the forest's hidden paths and secret places was an asset they could not afford to overlook. With their course set, they broke camp and resumed their journey. The forest enveloped them once more, its towering trees and tangled undergrowth a constant presence. The path was not always clear, but the river's song was a reliable guide, leading them ever onward. As they walked, the air grew thick with the scent of earth and foliage, a rich, loamy aroma that spoke of life and decay, of the cycle that governed all living things. The sun climbed higher, sending shafts of light through the leaves, illuminating their path with a golden glow. The day wore on, the heat of the sun tempered by the cool shade of the forest. They moved with purpose, their footfalls a quiet rhythm against the soft earth. There were moments of silence, punctuated by the occasional exchange of words, but mostly they were content in the shared understanding of their mission. In the afternoon, they encountered a stretch of dense undergrowth, a tangled mass of vines and thorns that barred their way. Hiroshi paused, assessing the obstacle with a practiced eye. It was a formidable barrier, but not insurmountable. "We'll have to cut through," he said, unsheathing his knife. Takeshi followed suit, and together they began the laborious task of clearing a path. Akira watched, eager to assist, his smaller hands deftly working to untangle the vines. It was slow, painstaking work, but their determination was unwavering. They pushed forward, inch by inch, until the undergrowth began to yield, revealing a narrow passage through. Emerging on the other side, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away. The forest opened up into a wide glade, bathed in sunlight and alive with color. Wildflowers carpeted the ground, their vibrant hues a stark contrast to the muted greens and browns of the forest. A small stream meandered through the glade, its waters clear and cool. It was a place of rare beauty, a haven of tranquility that seemed untouched by the ravages of the world beyond. They paused to rest, drinking deeply from the stream and savoring the peace of the moment. The glade felt like a sanctuary, a place where the burdens of their journey could be set aside, if only for a short while. As they sat in companionable silence, Hiroshi's thoughts drifted to home, to the life he had left behind. Memories of family and friends, of simpler times, surfaced unbidden. There was a longing in his heart, a yearning for the familiar comforts of the past. Takeshi, too, was lost in thought, his expression pensive as he gazed across the glade. For all their differences, they shared a common bond, an unspoken understanding of the sacrifices they had made. Akira, sensing the change in mood, turned to Hiroshi with a question. "Do you think we'll make it home?" he asked, his voice filled with both hope and uncertainty. Hiroshi considered his response carefully. "Yes," he said finally, his voice firm. "We will find a way. Together." The words were a promise, a vow to see their journey through to the end. They had come too far to turn back now, and the bond they shared was stronger than any obstacle they might face. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the glade, they prepared to move on. The forest awaited, its mysteries still to be unraveled. But the memory of the glade stayed with them, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The path was not always clear, and the challenges were many, but they pressed on, buoyed by the strength of their resolve. The river was their guide, the forest their companion, and together they forged ahead, toward the promise of home and the peace that awaited them. Even as the day faded into twilight, the forest was alive with possibility, each rustle of leaves and distant call of wildlife a reminder of the world's vastness and their place within it. And in the gathering dusk, Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira moved forward, their spirits unyielding, their hearts united in the quest for freedom and the dream of a brighter dawn. As twilight deepened its embrace, the forest seemed to awaken with a life of its own, whispering secrets carried by the evening breeze. The canopy above turned into a canvas of deep indigo, speckled with the first timid stars that peeked through the gathering night. Their soft glow offered a fleeting sense of direction as Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira made their way through the undergrowth, each footstep a testament to their unwavering determination. The river, ever present, murmured its ancient song, a melody of continuity and change. It was both a guide and a guardian, its gentle flow a constant reassurance amid the uncertainties that lay ahead. They followed its course with a reverence that spoke of their dependency on its life-giving presence, a shimmering ribbon that wound its way through the darkness, leading them ever onward. Yet, the forest was not without its challenges. The terrain grew treacherous, roots and stones conspiring to trip the unwary. Branches reached out with gnarled fingers, snagging at clothes and skin, as if the forest itself wished to test their resolve. Hiroshi led the way, his keen eyes discerning a path where none seemed to exist, his quiet strength a beacon for the others. Takeshi moved with a cautious grace, his senses attuned to every sound and shadow. He paused often, listening for any sign of danger, the distant crack of a twig or the rustle of leaves that might herald a threat. His heart beat in time with the forest, the adrenaline of anticipation tingling through his veins, yet his mind remained focused, a guardian against the unknown. Akira, the youngest and most impetuous, followed with a mixture of awe and determination. The forest was a wonderland of discovery, each twist and turn a new adventure. Yet beneath his youthful exuberance lay a core of steel, a resolve to prove himself and to protect those he held dear. He carried with him the spirit of their journey, a flame that refused to be extinguished. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the night enveloped them in its velvet embrace. The air was cool and fragrant with the scent of pine and earth, a sensory tapestry that spoke of life in its myriad forms. Insects chirped a symphony of night, their calls punctuating the silence, while owls hooted softly from their perches, sentinels of the night. The trio moved as one, their steps synchronized in silent harmony. Each was attuned to the others, a bond forged in the crucible of shared hardship and hope. They spoke little, for words were unnecessary. Their hearts communicated in a language beyond speech, an understanding that transcended the need for sound. Yet, in the quiet of the night, their minds wandered to thoughts of home. Memories of loved ones, of laughter and warmth, flickered like the stars above, guiding them through the darkness. The hope of reunion, of peace reclaimed from the chaos of war, was a beacon that drew them onward, its light unwavering even in the face of adversity. As the hours passed, the forest began to change. The trees, once tall and majestic, gave way to a denser undergrowth, a tangled mass that seemed to pulse with unseen life. The path became more arduous, the air heavier with the promise of rain. Clouds gathered in the night sky, blotting out the stars and casting the world into a deeper darkness. They pressed on, undeterred, their resolve unbroken. But as the first drops of rain began to fall, a new challenge presented itself. The path became slick, the ground treacherous underfoot, each step a test of balance and agility. The rain fell in earnest, a rhythmic drumming against the leaves, a symphony of nature that drowned out all else. Hiroshi, ever vigilant, led them to a small overhang, a natural shelter from the storm. There they huddled together, the rain cascading around them in a shimmering curtain. For a moment, they were cut off from the world, encapsulated in a bubble of silence broken only by the rain's persistent song. In that moment of respite, they shared the provisions they had gathered, small tokens of sustenance that nourished both body and spirit. Hiroshi spoke softly, his voice a gentle balm against the storm. He reminded them of their purpose, of the strength they drew from one another, and the dream that kept them moving forward. Takeshi listened with a quiet intensity, his gaze fixed on the horizon hidden by rain. His thoughts drifted to the future, to the possibilities that lay beyond the forest, and the promise of a world reborn from the ashes of conflict. He felt the weight of responsibility, not as a burden, but as a duty to those who had fallen and those who awaited their return. Akira, ever the optimist, spoke of the adventures yet to come, his words a tapestry of hope and wonder. He imagined a world where peace reigned, where laughter replaced the sound of gunfire, and where dreams were free to flourish under the sun's warm embrace. His vision was infectious, a spark that kindled the flames of hope in the hearts of his companions. As the rain began to abate, the world slowly emerged from its watery shroud. The forest glistened in the moonlight, each leaf a jewel, each raindrop a prism that scattered light into 1,000 colors. The air was fresh and clean, a new beginning whispered in the gentle rustle of leaves. They resumed their journey, hearts lighter, spirits buoyed by the promise of a new day. The forest, once a formidable adversary, had become a friend, its challenges a test of their resolve and their unity. They moved with a renewed sense of purpose, each step a testament to their unwavering commitment. As the night wore on, the forest began to thin, the trees giving way to open spaces and the promise of a world beyond. The river, ever faithful, guided them toward the edge of the forest, its waters a mirror reflecting the first hints of dawn. And as the sky began to lighten, the first rays of the sun broke through the clouds, painting the world in hues of gold and pink. It was a moment of sublime beauty, a reminder of the world's capacity for renewal and hope. In that moment, Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira paused, their journey momentarily forgotten in the wonder of the dawn. They stood together, united in purpose and in hope, their faces turned toward the rising sun. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and the unknown. But they faced it together, their hearts united by a bond that transcended time and space. For they were not just soldiers, not just wanderers in a vast and uncertain world. They were brothers in spirit, bound by a dream of peace and freedom, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And together, they stepped forward into the light of a new day, their journey far from over, but their spirits unyielding, their hearts forever united in the quest for a better world. As they continued their path, the soft whisper of the morning breeze carried with it the scent of cherry blossoms, a gentle reminder of home and the loved ones waiting for their return. Each step they took resonated with the rhythm of the earth awakening, a symphony of life that echoed their unspoken vows of resilience and camaraderie. The landscape around them transformed, no longer just a backdrop to their struggles, but a living canvas that embraced their dreams and fears alike. The mountains loomed ahead, majestic and daunting, yet they no longer seemed insurmountable. For Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira, the journey was no longer just about reaching a destination, it was about the moments they shared, the laughter amidst adversity, and the silent understanding that bound them more tightly than any chain. Their thoughts drifted to the past, to the battles fought and the memories etched into their souls. But the dawn had ushered in a new beginning, a chance to forge a path of peace where once there was strife. In each other's eyes, they found the strength to forgive, to let go of the burdens that had once weighed heavily upon their hearts. As the sun ascended higher into the sky, casting long shadows behind them, they walked on with renewed purpose. The journey was a tapestry of endless possibilities, woven with threads of courage and hope. And as they moved forward, the world around them seemed to whisper back, acknowledging their resolve and promising its own silent support. In the end, it wasn't the destination that mattered most, but the journey itself, the moments of quiet reflection, the bonds forged in the crucible of hardship, and the unwavering belief that together, they could shape a future where peace reigned supreme. With each step, they carried with them the promise of a new dawn, a world reborn with each rising sun, forever guided by the light within their hearts. And so, Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira disappeared into the horizon, souls intertwined with the very essence of hope, leaving behind a legacy of courage and unity that would echo through the ages. As the world continued to turn, their story became a timeless testament to the power of friendship and the enduring spirit of those who dared to dream of peace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and violet, the world exhaled a gentle sigh, as if in gratitude for the quiet heroes who had walked its paths. The winds carried whispers of their journey, a melody that danced through the leaves and across the waters, reminding all who listened of the strength found in unity and the beauty of a shared vision. The villages they had passed through held onto the warmth of their presence, like the lingering glow of a hearth long after the flames had died down. Stories of their bravery and compassion were told and retold, becoming the threads that wove communities closer together, inspiring new generations to rise and meet their own challenges with the same fervor and grace. In the hearts of those who had met Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira, there remained a spark, a flicker of light that refused to be dimmed by the shadows of doubt or despair. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could be kindled anew, and that the human spirit, resilient and unyielding, could forge paths where none seemed possible. The landscape, once marked by conflict, began to heal, as if the very earth had been touched by their resolve. Fields flourished, rivers sang with renewed vigor, and the skies, vast and eternal, bore witness to the quiet revolution of peace that unfolded beneath them. And in that stillness, as night embraced the land, the stars emerged, each one a testament to the dreams that had been dared and the promises that had been kept. They twinkled with a knowing brightness, as if to say that the journey of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira was not an end, but a beginning, a reminder that the quest for peace and understanding is an eternal one, carried forward by all who dare to dream. Thus, the story of these three kindred souls became a beacon, lighting the way for those who would follow, a gentle reminder that the world is vast and full of promise, waiting only for the courage of a few to unlock its hidden wonders. And so, beneath the endless sky, their legacy lived on, whispering through the ages, a song of hope and unity, forever echoing in the hearts of those who dared to listen. As dawn crept over the horizon, painting the world in hues of gold and amber, the village awoke to a new day. The transformations wrought by Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira were now woven into the very fabric of the land, a tapestry of resilience and renewal that stretched far beyond their own lifetimes. The people, once divided by fear and misunderstanding, now stood together, their hearts beating as one. Children played in the fields where their ancestors once sowed seeds of discord, and elders sat side by side, sharing stories of old, their laughter mingling with the gentle rustle of the wind. The bonds forged by the trio had grown stronger with each passing season, a testament to the power of unity and the beauty of a shared dream. As the years turned, the legend of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira became a cherished tale, told by firesides and beneath the sheltering arms of ancient trees. It was a story of courage and compassion, of bridges built over once insurmountable chasms. It inspired generations to seek understanding, to face differences with open hearts, and to find strength in diversity. And so, as the world spun onward, the spirit of the three friends endured, carried on the wings of the winds, whispered through the leaves, and mirrored in the shimmering waters of the streams. Their journey had sown seeds of hope that blossomed in the souls of all who heard it, a perpetual reminder that peace is not a destination but a journey, ever unfolding, ever renewing. In this quiet revolution, the land thrived, and the people flourished, bound by the unbreakable thread of their shared humanity. The story of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira, like the stars that watched over them, continued to illuminate the path, guiding dreamers and seekers toward a brighter, more harmonious tomorrow. And under the vast, eternal sky, their legacy lived on, a song of hope and unity, forever echoing in the hearts of those who dared to listen. The tale of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira wove itself into the fabric of the world, a tapestry of lessons and love that transcended the boundaries of time and place. As the sun set each evening, casting golden hues across the horizon, the whispers of their journey danced in the twilight, mingling with the songs of the earth. Generations came and went, yet the essence of their story remained a beacon, a gentle reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outwards, touching lives unseen and unfathomable. In villages and cities alike, people would gather under the starlit sky, sharing tales of the three friends and their quest for understanding. Elders would recount the adventures, their eyes twinkling with the memory of a time when dreams were woven into the very air they breathed. Children, inspired by the courage and compassion of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira, would set out on their own journeys, fueled by the belief that they too could make a difference, that they too could build bridges where once there were walls. And so, the world continued to turn, each day a new chance to choose love over fear, unity over division. The spirit of the three friends, now a part of the very wind and earth, encouraged each soul to embrace their own potential for greatness, to become a part of the ever-expanding circle of hope and harmony. As the final notes of their story faded into the night, carried by the gentle breeze, the world held its breath, knowing that the legacy of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira would forever light the way for those who dared to dream of a future where peace was not just a fleeting moment, but a way of life. And thus, in the quiet embrace of eternity, their story came to rest, a timeless testament to the power of friendship and the indomitable strength of the human spirit. In the years that followed, the seeds planted by Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira began to bear fruit across lands far and wide. Their tale, whispered from village to village, grew into a legend that inspired countless others to reach across divides, to see the world not as fragmented pieces, but as a tapestry woven from threads of understanding and compassion. Children, born long after the trio's time, sat wide-eyed as their elders recounted tales of the three friends who had dared to dream of a world united. These stories, rich with the colors of hope and perseverance, painted images in young minds of what could be achieved when courage met kindness. The towns and cities touched by their legacy transformed. Where once there were barriers, both seen and unseen, there were now pathways lined with cherry blossoms, each bloom a reminder that beauty flourishes most in the light of connection and goodwill. People from all walks of life gathered under these trees, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams, their hearts open to the possibilities that lay within each encounter. In this way, the spirit of Hiroshi, Takeshi, and Akira lived on, not just in memory, but in the very fabric of the lives they had touched. Their journey, though concluded, was but the beginning of many others, each one a testament to the enduring power of friendship and the belief that, together, humanity could rise above the challenges of the past. And so, beneath a sky painted with the hues of dusk, the world exhaled, at peace with itself. For in every corner where shadows once lingered, light now danced, illuminating the path forward, a path born from the dreams of three friends, hope for a brighter tomorrow.